I'm going to give you 20 lessons on social confidence that took me 20 years to learn. So if you're new here, my name is Christian, and I help dateable men remove their social blocks so they can stop living like closet heterosexuals. And if you're anything like me, I've been obsessed with social confidence for as long as I can remember. I became a magician at 13 years old because I was shit scared of talking to strangers. I read so many books on human psychology. I've approached tens of thousands of people, and now I find myself in this fortunate position where I can install over 16 years of battle-tested social experience into my private coaching clients. Now, before I give you this list, everybody seems to have confidence backwards, right? Whenever I see advice online, everyone's talking about how you can build confidence, 5 easy steps to build more confidence. But for me, confidence isn't something that you build. It's something that you uncover, right? Because within all of us, your natural confidence, it's already there. Your natural confidence, charm, charisma, it's there. In the same way that every guy's already got a six-pack, it's just buried under a layer of fat. So what my job is when I'm working with my private coaching clients is to remove the bullshit, remove the fear, the sedation, the compliance, removing everything that isn't them. In the same way that when Michelangelo was asked how he sculpted the statue of David, he said, I removed everything that wasn't David. Now, my old mate Socrates said it best. He said, the beginning of wisdom is the definition of terms. The way that I define confidence is simply the ability to experience success in advance. Imagine right now, I said to you, go to your kitchen, pour yourself a glass of water. You probably wouldn't have a lot of anxiety. You'd probably feel confident in doing that because you've done it a lot of time. On the flip side, anxiety is experiencing failure in advance. So imagine right now, I told you to stand on a stage in front of 5,000 people and give a speech without any preparation. You'd probably feel shit scared. You probably would experience the worst case scenario, people laughing at you, run out of things to say, receiving social injury, right? So confidence is simply experiencing success in advance. Anxiety, experiencing failure in advance. So the first thing that took me 20 years to learn is the past is dead. Yeah, the past is dead. I think so many of us, we are stuck regretting the past and dreading the future. And I know for me, growing up as a single only child in the Lake District, I struggled with social skills growing up. I didn't have any friends at school. I used to break out into these sweating fits whenever I got put on the spot to answer questions, because one time in school, I put my hand up really confidently to get this question, what I thought was going to be right. And I got the question disastrously wrong. Everyone laughed at me, even the teacher laughed. And from that moment on, I learned that if I put my head above the parapet, I could receive social injury. And this is what I found to be true. A lot of guys out there, they don't stay average with women with social skills, with confidence. They don't stay average because they're lazy. They stay average because they're just scared of getting it wrong. And oftentimes, for me anyway, I always found myself repeating past failures, especially when it came to something like approaching women. You might have had it before where, have you ever been in a conversation with a woman and it doesn't really feel like you're having a conversation with her? It feels like you're negotiating with who you used to be. It feels like every time you see this beautiful woman, rather than walking over and starting a conversation, you are negotiating with yourself. You're experiencing failure in advance, rejecting yourself on her behalf. You second guess every single move. And then while you're playing these mental gymnastics, she disappears into the crowd, never even knowing you existed. And what I found with all the successful guys who I've worked with is the past is dead. It was a French philosopher, Rousseau, who said it best. Man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains. And something that took me a long time to work out is the ability to forgive yourself. Yeah? And I do this as a daily practice now. Every day I wake up and I forgive myself for who I used to be. All the fuck-ups, all the failures. I remember when I was first learning the skill of daytime call approach, you'll probably know my story by now, but I had erectile dysfunction. Yeah, I couldn't get a boner with new women. And every time this happened, it kept happening. I got into this self-fulfilling prophecy where every time I approached a woman, we were going on a date, everything seemed like it was going well. I'd get so up in my head, repeating the past, thinking, oh, it's going to happen again. And that crippled me of my social confidence. I've made a video on that, by the way, how I overcame that tumultuous time in my life. But the first thing that took me so long to work out is being able to forgive yourself. All the fuck-ups, all the failures. Whoever you used to be in the past, you make a decision today that you're going to recreate yourself, right? You're going to recreate yourself in your own image. And this is why I love daytime cold approach so much, because every approach is an opportunity to recreate yourself. The women you approach today, they've got no pre-existing social context on who you are. They just see the guy who's in front of them. And this is one of the most rewarding things for me. When I'm working with my guys one-on-one, let's say one of my guys has flown out to meet me in whatever city I'm in, I'll be working with this guy and maybe he's been terrified of approaching women his entire life. It feels like his personal life is lagging behind his professional life. And approaching women has just been this area in his life where he's never got a handle on it. You know, he might have watched the videos, he might have read the blogs, he might have listened to podcasts. Been in this content. He's been in that content hamster wheel for years where he convinced himself he's making progress, but he's still sleeping alone every single night. So then when he's in person with me, and let's say he does an approach and he gets his first phone number, or he just approaches and he gets a positive reaction, that changes the way he shows up in the world. And this is why I see daytime cold approach as the most aggressive form of self-development, because once you've done 100 conscious daytime cold approaches, you're not the same guy anymore. Whoever you've been in the past, you are recreating yourself through the fires of adversity. The second thing I wanted to share is there is no perfect social state. It pisses me off whenever I hear coaches online telling introverted guys how to be more charismatic. Oh, if you're introverted, then you need to talk to more people, you need to be loud, you need to posture in a certain way. And okay, that might be useful for some guys, but what I've found is the key to social confidence is amplifying whatever is authentic to you in the current moment. For example, if you're an entrepreneur and you're taking sales calls, you don't need to put on an act, right? If you're in a low energy state, maybe you didn't get a good night's sleep, then you don't need to put on this performance, try and be this high energy, high agency, energetic closer. Same when you're cold approaching a woman as well. A lot of guys think that they need to be social in order to have a conversation. This was something that held me back for a long time because I was a magician for a decade. I learned at an early age that in order for me to receive love, I needed to be entertaining. Right? This is what a lot of guys don't understand. They think that cold approach was easy for me because I was a magician. But the problem for me was I didn't know how to go from social to seductive. So my conversations with women were often pleasant, but they weren't polarizing. I was never seen as a serious romantic option. And the reason why this kept happening was because I felt as though I needed to be something that I wasn't in the moment in order to receive love and validation and approval. So in plain English, what this looks like is if you are more of a low energy guy, maybe you work an analytical, cognitive job, and maybe everybody online is telling you, you need to be playful, you need to be charming, you need to be witty, and you're sat there like, motherfucker, that's just not my nature. What do you want me to do? You want me to put on an act and pretend to be something that I'm not? Because this is why old school game did not work. Old school game would have guys such as yourself put on the 10-minute sales pitch, pretend to be something they weren't to attract women who were never theirs in the first place. So if you are more of a logical, analytical guy, lean into that. Be more grounded, be more seductive, allow yourself to create more tension. But let's say one day you are in a high energy state. Maybe you've done lots of approaches. Maybe you've just spent good time with good people. Maybe you've just come out the gym or the martial arts class and you're thinking, yeah, mate, I'm in godly frequency right now. Lean in to that state, right? Because there is no perfect state. And I think that something that holds guys back, especially when approaching women, is they think they need to be in a different state to the one that they're currently in. They think that, oh, I need to feel social to have a conversation. No, you need to simply make peace with whatever state you're currently in and amplify whatever feels authentic to you. Number 3, and this is going to piss a lot of people off, but that's the point. If you don't approach, somebody else will. Right now, there are guys out there who are nowhere near your level, no richer, smarter, better looking than you, and they are taking the women who could have been yours just because they had the balls to walk over and start a conversation. And for me, pain has always been a motivator. I don't know about you, but I've never been motivated by these lovey-dovey emotions like joy, gratitude, peace. I'm sure there'll be a time in my life where that is the case. But when I was first building my current business in 2020, I hated myself. I hated the reality that I was living. I was addicted to porn. I had erectile dysfunction. I was working a dead-end job for minimum wage. I felt like a complete failure for most of my adult life. I had cockroaches in my apartment. I used to use an air purifier as a tripod because I didn't have enough money to buy one. I just felt like a fuck-up, right? And I took all of that pain and I transmuted it into power. So usually the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the creatives who I work with, they're similar to me, where they're motivated by pain. So I could say to them, oh bro, approach that woman, go make her day. Yeah, sure, that might get them off the fence. Or I could say to them, bro, if you don't approach her, somebody else will. Yeah, if you don't approach her, somebody else will approach, somebody else will date her, somebody else will bang her. And that mindset that I install it always comes back to me in terms of the feedback that my clients give to me. It's like, Christian, that one mindset you installed into me, that changed the game for me, because now every time I'm out there in the field and I see a smoking hot woman who I want to start a conversation with, I've got your voice in my ear. I'm like, if I don't approach her, somebody else will. Number 4, consequences beat confidence. So what usually happens with the guys who work with me one-on-one is they've got to a point in their lives where enough is enough. Yeah, they've watched the videos, they've tried going out there, they've walked around the streets for 5 hours, they spoke to one grandma, they're scared of making eye contact, they're doing all these mental gymnastics, they feel like a closet heterosexual, they have this feeling that they're just wasting their time, they start to convince themselves of all these limiting beliefs that maybe I'm not attractive enough, maybe I'm not tall enough, maybe I'm not rich enough, maybe this works for other guys, maybe it doesn't work for me. The biggest shift that happens when guys work with me one-on-one is they introduce consequences, right? So when guys invest thousands of dollars into my expertise, they burn the boats. There's no going back anymore. And this is why just watching free videos and expecting your life to change is like sniffing a condom wrapper, expecting to lose your virginity. Yeah, free videos are great to give you that initial inspiration. Yeah, I remember when I first saw my very first cold approach video in 2020, that just lit the spark in me, right? I saw this guy. He was approaching in Barcelona. I was like, whoa, if he can do this, I can do this. Because I'd known about cold approach in the past, but I always thought it was a bit weird, a bit creepy, because the guys who were doing it were usually weird and creepy. When I saw this video, it was just this everyday dude. He had a natural aura about him. He was approaching women. He was getting phone numbers. The girls seemed to be enjoying it. I'm like, this is what I need. I didn't need any more convincing. So as soon as I watched that video, I went out into Leeds City Centre. I started practicing. After doing that on my own for 6 months, I recognized I didn't know what I didn't know. I realized I lacked accountability. I lacked personalized feedback. I lacked a clear structure to get the results that I wanted. So that's why I started getting coached 6 months after I started. Even though I was a magician for a decade, I was able to drop my ego. You know, like earlier I was like, magic taught me how to be social. It didn't teach me how to be seductive. So that's why I invested the little capital I did have back then into getting coached. Consequences are more important than confidence, right? Imagine you go out today and you set the intention to approach 5 women, okay? Maybe you'll do it, maybe you won't. But imagine you said to one of your friends, bro, I'm gonna go out into my city center, I'm gonna approach 5 women, I'm gonna record the audio of these conversations, send them over to you to prove that I've actually done it. If I don't do it, I will wire you $1,000, £1,000, right? Now you've introduced consequences. Number 5, confidence is uncovered through social risk. What I found to be true is in order to become great at anything, we have to risk not being able to do it. And this is why, since the age of 13 years old, I was using resistance as my compass. Whatever scared the living shit out of me, I would catapult myself towards it, right? And it's not an easy path, right? That's why I'm making this video, because when I was 13 years old and I had a shitload of social anxiety, my only friend growing up in my small town of Barrow-in-Furness was my aunt. So we used to play Call of Duty together after school. It was Modern Warfare 2. Shout out, represent. And I just sucked socially. I didn't understand how other children in the playground were connecting with each other. I used to hide in the toilets at playtime because I was terrified of being seen as this loner. Because I think that's the thing for guys, right? We don't really give a fuck if somebody calls us an arsehole, a dick, a bit of a knob. But it's when we get labelled as creepy, yeah, as an outcast. That stings. And this is what I found to be true with all the guys who I've worked with, is a lot of guys, they're not scared of approaching, but they are scared of being seen to be approaching. And this is why when I think about confidence, I think about simply taking social risks. Just doing one thing on a daily basis that makes you feel socially resistant. It might be walking into a new restaurant on your own. It might be asking the barista how their day's going. It might be just cold approaching one woman, giving her a compliment, just focusing on the open, reminding yourself nobody's allergic to a compliment. We become what we practice. Yeah. So if you can make a habit for the next 30 days out of taking one social risk, then you'll start to stack momentum. And the way that I define momentum is the removal of doubt. Number 6 is to be hated. All right, so many guys today, they crave universal approval. They crave universal validation. When they're approaching women, they want every single woman to like them. They want every single woman to approve of them. But it's a similar mindset that you'll have for your business, right? The goal for your business, you're not trying to be everything to everybody, right? You're trying to be the right somebody for the right somebodies, because polarization is profitable. Think about a brand like Apple, right? Apple knows who their ideal target client is. right? And Apple's brand loyalty is based around division. You either love Apple or you fucking hate Apple. It's the same with your dating life. It's the same with your social life. Rather than walking out onto the streets to approach women, hoping and praying that every single woman likes you, you are filtering for your fuck yeses, right? This is the whole game right here when it comes to daytime cold approach. Again, polarization is profitable. There's a really great piece of literature. It's called 1,000 True Fans. And it makes the point that you only need 1,000 people paying you $1,000 a year, and you've got a beautiful business there. How many people are on this planet? About 7.5 billion people. So out of 7.5 billion people, you only need 1,000 people. Dating is even easier, because in dating, you only need one. This is why I love social media so much, because it allows me to filter for my fuck yeses. Yeah? When I put my message out to the world, when I follow my truth, when I speak my bliss, people self-select, right? People either really, deeply, truly fuck with me, or they don't, or they fucking hate me. They leave these weird anonymous comments under my videos. I'm like, yeah, there's another person who's self-selected. He's not one of my guys. I barely even have to take sales calls anymore, right? Guys just consume a bucket load of my content. And then when they've got to a position where they know, like, and trust me, they just DM me on Instagram, like, Christian, mate, I've been following your content. I love your stuff. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Just send through the details. I've got a few questions in regards to how the program works, but I'm ready to go. And this is why being polarizing, not for the sake of being polarizing, but simply speaking your truth, taking action without apology. This is the way that you make more money. You attract hotter women. You develop more status in your respective fields. It's not trying to appease the masses. It's not trying to people please, like, oh, I hope everybody likes me, right? Dr. Seuss said it best. He said, those who mind don't matter, those who matter don't mind. This game is about filtering for your fuck yeses. Number 7, belief follows action. Right? I cannot think my way into a confident state. I can't just sit on my kitchen floor, lotus flower position, singing Kumbaya, expecting to receive some form of social confidence. If you want to uncover social confidence, then you need to take the necessary action, right? It's almost like trying to think your way into getting a six-pack. No, your natural confidence, your natural six-pack, yes, it is already there, but you need to take the actions in order to uncover it, or even more nuanced than that. It's about you becoming the version of yourself who already has the thing, right? And this is why a big portion of my work is based around the internal frequency, right? Not in some woo-woo law of attraction way, but think about it like this. You wouldn't get on an aeroplane not knowing where you're going. Why? Because the destination determines the direction. So rather than asking yourself, how do I get social confidence? It's, who do I need to become to make social confidence effortless? And this is why it's not about chasing a goal, it's chasing an identity. This is what I did in 2020 before anybody knew my name, when I was posting videos on YouTube for 7 months, barely getting any views. I installed delusional optimism and irrational self-confidence into myself. I reverse engineered the version of myself who's speaking to you today. I acted as if I already was that version, and I made my actions align with my ambitions, right? And this is the key. Belief follows action, right? So if you walk outside today and you cold approach 5 women, you give them strong, hard-hitting, direct compliments, you're probably going to feel apprehensive before the fact. It's a little bit like before you go to the gym. Right, before you go to the gym, you might not be feeling it. You might start to feed yourself these excuses. Oh, maybe today's a rest day. Maybe I haven't fully recovered from 2 days ago. But as soon as you get there, as soon as you start to get your sweat on, as soon as you're surrounded by other people who are training hard, you start to feel it, right? It's the same with social confidence as well. You're not going to think your way into a confident state. Your natural confidence is already there, but belief follows action. Number 8 is a perfect mindset for guys who have a lot of resistance towards approaching, specifically approaching women right now. And it's just go to give. Yeah, imagine right now, imagine you were walking down the streets of London and you saw a woman drop her phone on the floor. Now imagine picking up that phone and returning the phone back to that woman. Would you feel anxiety about returning the phone? Probably not. Why? It's because you think you've got something of value to give that woman, right? And it's the same when you're approaching women, to deliver strong, hard-hitting compliments, to bathe in the nourishing radiance of the feminine. A lot of guys, they're living their dating lives like closet heterosexual. They've been brainwashed by the brain dead into thinking it's wrong in some way to approach women. Oh, harassment, stranger danger, oh, it's creepy. No, what is creepy is walking out into your city centre, giving women side-eye glances, doing nothing about it. What is creepy is hanging around nightclubs until 3 a.m, approaching women who are too drunk to think straight. What is creepy is going on dates through dating apps with women who you've never even met in real life. Daytime cold approach, which is just talking to strangers, is the most non-creepy way of beginning a romantic relationship. But because a lot of guys are conditioned in the closet of heterosexuality and they've been brainwashed into thinking it's wrong, have the intention to go out simply to leave women better than you found them. Now, you don't want to stay in this mindset for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you'll just start giving off these good Samaritan vibes. You get very good at complimenting women, and that feels safe, it feels comfortable. A lot of guys stay there for years. They convince themselves they're making progress, but really they're just stuck in this good Samaritan vibe, right? So it's good to just to get you started, just to get those first points on the board. Go to give. Yeah, be the reason she smiles. Be the reason she has a better day. Because a lot of people talk about changing the world, and for me, changing the world starts by changing someone's world. And I think oftentimes we don't really realize the small acts of kindness that you drop into the world today. You've got no idea where those positive reverberations are going to ricochet. You might approach a hashtag milkshake today. Maybe she's not been approached in a decade, and you make her feel beautiful. And maybe she goes home and now she's more loving to her children. And because she's more loving, her children get better grades in school and they grow up to become doctors and they save someone's life one day. It's the butterfly effect, yeah? Going to give. Yeah, and I think a lot of anxiety is caused when we feel as though we need something. We need something from the conversation. We need a phone number. We need a date. We need a happy ending just to feel as though our presence means something to somebody. And I get it. But when you are starting, just go to give. Number 9 is to feel good in yourself first. The glory of God is in a being fully alive. And one of the greatest social hacks that I uncovered, and it sounds so basic, but I don't know why I didn't realize it before. Feeling good in yourself. Internal state equals external reality. How do you make somebody else laugh? You make yourself laugh first. The girl is very much your mirror. She will feel what you feel. The problem with a lot of guys is they're going out to approach, but they've not done anything at the start of their day that makes them feel alive. Like, dude, this is the game right here. If you can get yourself into this high frequency state before you approach women, the approaches will feel more automatic. They'll feel more effortless. For example, I train martial arts 5 times a week. And once I'm finished at the martial arts gym, after 90 minutes of pushing myself, feeling like an absolute animal, feeling like this sophisticated social savage, I walk out into the world. It feels like I've already done 100 approaches. I feel 10 feet tall. I feel as though I can do anything. So if you're somebody right now, and maybe you're spending a lot of time at home on your own doing a lot of cognitive deep work, and you're trying to go from work mode to social mode, do something before you go out to approach women, before you go out to be social, that makes you feel good. It might be martial arts. It might be training at the gym. It might be making videos, recording yourself in public, just getting your vocal cords firing. It might be doing 50 push-ups at home, yeah? Just to get yourself out of your head and into your body. When you're already in this high frequency state, approaching feels so much easier. You can do it with cold approach as well. For example, what I used to do when I was learning daytime approach is I would do the hardest approach first, right? And hardest is subjective. For me, it was approaching a girl who was with her parents, approaching a girl who was with her mom, approaching a girl who was with her friend, approaching a girl who was in a bookstore, in a cafe, in a museum. Doing the hardest approach first, it then made all the other approaches feel easier in comparison. It's a little bit like going to the gym, lifting the heaviest weight first. All of the other sets that you do, they feel lighter in comparison. But feeling good in yourself first, being in this high frequency state where you can experience success in advance. Number 10 is to never be at home. Let's be real, you're not gonna meet your future wife by staying on your own in your cozy apartment. You might have your Dubai or Miami fucking skyline. You built this palace of comfort, right? Because let's be real, the modern world is comfortable. Oh, I'm horny, porn. Oh, I'm hungry, Uber Eats. Oh, I'm bored, Netflix, right? So having this mantra, never be at home, you need to be in the social arena. You need to be in an environment where social interaction is possible. Really simple. If you're anything like the guys who I work with, maybe you're a nomad or an entrepreneur or a business owner, rather than doing your work at home, just go to a cafe, right? Become a regular, develop this social scene, right? Become a regular at a cafe, get on first name basis with the baristas. And then what you can do is you can use this cafe as what I would call your social safe house, right? So let's say you're out there approaching, maybe you've done 5 approaches and you feel as though, okay, I might need to take a break right now. Or maybe the approaches have gone shit and you feel as though you're lacking that good, positive social feedback. You can just dip into your local cafe, be like, yo, Barry, Cosmo, Henrietta, how's it going? I'll have my regular, I'll have my usual. And then you can maybe bounce between conversations in the cafe. You sit down, you make eye contact with an absolute world, you walk over, you introduce yourself, boom, now you've got an instant date. Never be at home. I think having a reason to leave the house is so important. For me, just having martial arts, having a reason to leave the house. Because when I wake up in the morning, I'm not feeling it, dude. I wake up and I feel like I'm a shell of my former self, right? It's simply because I've not got momentum stacked that day. So I wake up, I take a cold shower, I have a little walk around the city, get some sunlight, make eye contact with people, say good morning, and get myself to the martial arts gym. And once I've stacked that momentum, now I feel as though, okay, I'm me. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel as though I'm in the game. I feel as though I can experience social success in advance. But something that I make my clients aware of is every day is a new day that you need to reinvent yourself again. Just because you had a great day yesterday doesn't guarantee a great day today, right? You need to show up again. You need to prove to the universe, this is the new normal. This is the new identity. Because I say it so often with guys, maybe they get inspired by watching one of my videos, they go out to approach and maybe the approaches go good, but then they don't approach for another 2 or 3 weeks. They're still riding on their past success. For me, cold approach is about the compounding interest of the actions that you take. We'll get into that a little bit later. Number 11 is to lower your IQ. Dating, social confidence is not a thinking man's game. And for me, confidence is not about what you add, it's about what you remove. And a really simple mindset that you can install today is to assume the identity of the retarded caveman, right? The next time you see a beautiful woman who you want to start a conversation with, rather than doing what every other guy does, which is talk yourself out of it, experience failure in advance, reject yourself on her behalf, say to yourself, me man, she woman, I like that. Allow yourself to be empty-headed. Number 12, confidence is contagious. I think that true confidence is making other people feel confident in your presence. This is what happens when guys fly out and they spend in-person one-on-one time with me, they become confident through osmosis, or I should say they uncover their confidence through osmosis. Because here's the thing, I'm not trying to get guys who work with me to become these weird miniature versions of me. No, I'm giving them permission to be the version of themselves they've always wanted to be, but have been too scared to try. It's a little bit like, you know the movie Fight Club, right? For me, Tyler Durden, the main character, Tyler Durden is not a character. Tyler Durden is a choice. Tyler Durden exists within all of us. Yeah, what does he say in the movie? Everything you want to be, that's me. I look like you want to look. I fuck like you want to fuck. I'm free in all the ways that you are not. Something along those lines. And this is what I found. When guys are in person with me and I install over 16 years of social experience into a single weekend, they're not the same person anymore because my approach to life rubs off on them. I give them full permission to be that version of themselves, to step into, it's not even a new identity, it's uncovering the identity who was always there, the identity beneath the marble, the identity that they just needed permission to excavate, right? And this is what I love about social confidence, is how it is contagious. If you spend time with somebody whose approach to life you want to emulate, you've probably heard it before, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I think that is somewhat true, but for me, you become the average of the 5 people who you compare yourself to, right? And I think that comparison, yeah, sure, it can be a thief of joy, but I also think a lack of comparison can be a thief of progress. For example, in my business right now, I've got these empire visions for what I'm building, and the guys who I'm comparing myself to right now, they're guys who are hitting $1 million months, right? When I first started cold approaching in 2020, I didn't even know it was possible to make $1 million in a single month. I would have thought, oh, that's a scam, that's not possible. And now I'm seeing guys on the internet and they are younger than me and they're making more money than me. And sure, money is simply one aspect of the game, but if you're anything like me, I have this obsession with progression, right? I want to become elite at everything that I do. I don't do half measures. I don't do moderation. If I'm in with something, I'm going all in with that. This is why I've stopped drinking. Yeah, because I realized alcohol was taken away more than it was given to me. I can't just go out and have one drink, right? If I go out for one, I'll have 20. I'll get white girl wasted. I'll wake up the next morning, banging headache, depleted bank balance, fuck all to show for it. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm going to utilize my all-in nature to go sober for the next 12 months. I'm 90 days sober now. I feel fucking amazing. And for me now, it's not a case of when will I drink again? It's why would I? But yeah, confidence is contagious. Number 13, everything is forgettable. So I studied English literature at the University of Liverpool. I graduated in 2018. And one of my favourite Shakespearean plays is Macbeth. And in Act 5, Scene 3 of Macbeth, he speaks one of the greatest passages in all of Shakespearean plays. Life is but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets is hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. We get an hour upon this stage, and one of the greatest social lessons I ever learned was how forgettable everything is. Yeah, I understand when you're trying to learn the skill of daytime cold approach all on your own, you feel like a closet heterosexual. Everything feels magnified. Like the importance of every approach, you attach excess importance to it, right? You see every approach as a make or break situation. You're worried about getting a bad reputation for yourself in your city. You're worried about the approach going bad. What if other people see you getting rejected? You're worried about, what if I get labeled as this low value, creepy pickup artist? It might be the uncertainty attached to the approach. You might not be scared of being rejected necessarily. You just don't know how the approach is going to go. You're scared of getting a bad reaction, the girl perceiving you as something that you're not. And for a lot of guys, it keeps them stuck in this comfort quicksand of complacency. But I remember one day I was in Amsterdam. I was walking through the city and I saw this guy, this homeless guy, stark bollock naked in the middle of the street, waving his knob around. And I saw people, they saw him, and then 2 seconds later, they went back to themselves, their own lives, their own problems. We're all animals responding to incentive. Everybody just wants the best deal for themselves, and we exist. So much of our time we exist in our own heads, thinking about the future, regretting the past. And when I'm working with my guys one-on-one, oftentimes we'll walk through the streets, and I'll ask him, yo bro, what colour were that woman's shoes who just walked past us? And be like, what woman? And understanding that everything is forgettable, it was this mindset that really benefited me when I was first learning daytime cold approach, because I was like, okay, the women who reject me today, they're not even going to remember me a week from now. And I also viewed it as the version of me that is being rejected today, 2 years from now, these rejections are going to build me into the man who I need to become. Before we were talking about, it's not about chasing a goal, it's chasing an identity. And just having this understanding that it's all forgettable. In 100 years' time, none of this is going to matter. In 3 generations' time, nobody is even going to know we existed. Like, your great-great-great-great-grandfather got no fucking idea who he was. Number 14, social anxiety is not real. Oftentimes, our brains confuse uncertainty with danger. You do not have social anxiety. You simply lack practice. And we already know by now, we become what we practice, okay? So this is why approach anxiety, you'll see a lot of gurus and coaches saying, oh, approach anxiety, buy my $997 course, the Approach Anxiety Annihilator. Approach anxiety isn't real. Anxiety is not an illness. Anxiety is an emotion. And the only reason guys experience this sensation of approach anxiety is because they're practicing avoidance. Okay, understand, avoidance amplifies anxiety. Action alleviates it. It's action that's going to penetrate the bullshit, the limiting beliefs, the self-deprecating thoughts, the ruminating in your own egoic self-absorption. And this is why when guys work with me one-on-one and they fly out for one-on-one in-person coaching, I'm just pushing them into more approaches than they've ever done in their entire lives. Action becomes the default setting, right? And this is where so many guys are at, especially the guys who I work with. The guys who I work with, they're successful business owners. They're not broken. They don't have the deep mindset issues. They're not some unemployed, low-life loser who's sleeping in his grandma's basement. They're well put together individuals, but the problem with them is they're just simply not doing the thing enough. That's it. They're just not approaching enough. I know it sounds basic and simple, but we can talk about, oh, your mindset, your frequency, oh, doing the hardest approach first, but really, it just comes down to doing the thing more. But it's not just about taking action, right? Because if you take action, if the action you're taking is shit, then you get consistently better at the wrong thing. It's kind of like going to the gym and practicing bad form. So a lot of the guys who I work with, they're not beginners to daytime approach anymore. They've done lots of approaches, but the problem with these guys is they're not getting the results that their efforts deserve because they've been convinced that just taking action is the way to get results. Taking action is great for the first 100 approaches because you need to get these points on the board. You need to view the rep as a reward. You need to teach yourself how to lose. You need to fall forwards. You need to have conversations that feel awkward. You run out of things to say. Your mind goes blank. You eject from the conversation too early. Once you've done more than 100 approaches, now it becomes, okay, I want to use this skill to get dates right now. And if you've done more than 100 approaches, but all you're getting is flaky phone numbers, conversations that don't go anywhere, and this overwhelming feeling, oh, maybe this works for other guys, maybe it doesn't work for me. It's not about taking action. It's about taking conscious action. And that means having accountability, having personalized feedback, having somebody to listen into your conversations, to give you real-time feedback. What's going wrong here, right? If you're running a business, you need to know what the constraint is, right? Is it a lead problem? Is it a fulfillment problem? You don't know what you don't know. And that's why I got coached 6 months after I started. Because I'm like, okay, I could spend the next decade playing around with trial and error, banging my head against a big brick wall, or I could just exchange my capital for somebody else's expertise and turn decades into days. Number 15 is be cringe, right? Be cringe. Because here's the thing. So many guys watch this content online and their knee-jerk reaction is, oh bro, that's so cringe. I would never do that. And it's like, yes, Flounder 997, that's why you're sleeping alone, dude. Because cold approach, especially when you're first learning it, it is fucking cringe. You are going to embarrass yourself. You are going to look like a bit of a tit. You are going to run out of things to say. And even though you're doing well in life, you're just going to feel like a bit of a knob sometimes. And that's okay. You're going to feel cringe, right? You're going to come out of conversations. You're going to think, I didn't even feel like that was me in the conversation. The girl didn't even get the true impression of me. What did we say before? Everything is forgettable. Every approach that you're doing, even if it goes shit, even if you feel as though you fucked up the entire interaction, even if you knew you could have gone for the phone number, but you bailed, or maybe you saw a girl who you wanted to talk to, but you pussied out because the spotlight effect felt too fierce, it's okay, right? Like, all of it is okay. All of it weaves into the tapestry of your personal renaissance. But one of the things that holds so many guys back is this fear of what other people are going to think, right? Because the reason we fear failure is because we judge others who fail. So when guys say, oh, that's cringe, I don't see people as people anymore. I see people as reasons, right? This is an Alan Watts paradigm. But if you can view people as reasons, it will set you free socially, right? Because if a guy says to you, oh bro, that's cringe, what he's really saying is, I'm scared if I did this, people would label me as cringe. What did we say before? In order to become great at anything, you have to risk not being able to do it. You have to risk looking like a bit of a tit in public. It's why I love doing the social freedom exercises so much, whether it's making videos of myself in public, doing push-ups in public, lying in the streets public, going out with the intention of being rejected. That's one of my favorite, I call it social sabotage mode. Going out with the intention to be rejected. Going out and falling in love with the perceived worst case scenario. Yeah? Because if you go out with the intention to get rejected, well, then what? Well, what's going to hurt you? You know what I mean? That's why I'm so transparent in these videos. It's like, people already know everything about me. So what are you going to say? I've already been transparent. I'm already like, yeah, bro, I was a porn addict. I had erectile dysfunction. I've got a pelican nose. I've got crooked teeth. I've got an average sized pee-pee. My dad left home when I was 5 years old. He was a raging alcoholic. My mum's got a lot of mental health problems. So I used to become the emotional brunt of her bad mood swings. I used to get dragged out of my bed at some ungodly hour. My mouth used to get washed out with soap. Yeah? It's like, yeah, fine. And what? Because the way that I coach and the way that I help the guys who I work with is everything that has happened in your life, it's there to serve you, right? Throw me in hell, I'll find a way to enjoy it. No matter what happens, you will be able to handle it. And for me, learning a skill like daytime cold approach, it gives you more than just higher quality women. It teaches you self-sovereignty. It teaches you emotional resilience. It allows you to stop giving a fuck what the NPCs are going to think of you. Number 16 is to prioritize imperfect action. Let me tell you a quick story. On the 4th of July, 2020, something exceptional happened. I walked out into Leeds city centre and I did my very first daytime cold approach. And it was shit. It was terrible. I saw this beautiful girl. She was crossing the road and I thought, okay, I'm going to go approach her on the street just like I've seen the guys do in the videos. But then something terrible happened. She walked into a shopping mall and I was like, oh fuck, now I need to go into the mall. Oh, there's going to be people in there. Oh, spotlight effect. So I walked inside the mall. I said, excuse me. My voice cracked. I didn't get her attention. I said, excuse me 2 more times. Other people in the shopping mall heard me. They started looking at me, but she had headphones in, so she didn't hear me. So again, I said, excuse me. I said it louder this time. She turned around. She looked at me. She took out one of her headphones and she was like, yeah. I was like, you look really nice. And she was like, yeah, thanks. I have a boyfriend. Put a head AirPod in, waltzed off into the distance. The result of that did not matter. What mattered is I felt the fear and I pushed through it anyway. And the craziest thing is that one approach opened up the rest of my life. If it hadn't have been for that first approach, I never would have left my 9-to-5 job. I was working in the National Railway Museum in York in the UK. So I used to give public talks to people about steam locomotives. It was a barrel of laughs. And if it hadn't been for Daytime Cold Approach, I never would have started training martial arts. I never would have built this personal brand online. I never would have met my now girlfriend. I never would have had the impact that I'm now having on millions of men all across the world. Because this is what it is for me. The meaning of life is the fulfillment of a promise. I believe that before I got put on this earth, I made a pact with a divine being that I would liberate a generation of men free from bullshit. And that's what this process for me is about. It's freedom from bullshit. It's giving yourself permission to suck. It's giving yourself permission to look like a bit of a tit, giving yourself permission to be cringe, prioritizing imperfect action, because so many of the guys who I work with, they're successful dudes. Yeah, they've built status. They are recognized in their industry. They are industry leaders, right? They've built this status. They've got recognition. But when it comes to Daytime Cold Approach, it can feel as though they still feel like the ugly duckling on the inside. It feels like their internal hasn't caught up with their external. And when they see a beautiful woman they want to start a conversation with, they don't see it as an opportunity. They see it as a threat to the identity they've worked so hard to build. And this is why I say to all my guys, prioritize imperfect action. Go out, allow yourself to fail, allow yourself to fuck up. I'll be right here. I'm here with you, by your side. I've coached so many guys. I understand how the process works. You don't need to put on an act when you work with me. You don't need to put on this bravado. If you're sad, I'm there for you. If you're happy, I'm there for you. Yeah, because I know what it's like, right? I'm from a place where people didn't achieve anything, you know? Like, I'm from a place where if you decide to go against the generic path, then you were shamed for that, you know? I'm from a place where people don't really do that much, yeah? And I think that for any guy who is looking to improve himself, any guy who is actively putting himself out there, approaching women, wanting to improve his social ability, I've got full-blown respect for you, because when I work with guys and, you know, I spend time with them, I just see that 13-year-old kid who I used to be. I see it inside of them. You know, I think we all want to be wanted. I think we want people to think good things about us. And I think we all want to live a fulfilling, nourishing, loving life. And something like Daytime Cold Approach, it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. For me, it is the most aggressive form of self-development. It will change your life more than anything else. But you need to give this process 100%. You'll get out of this process what you're prepared to put into it. Number 17, confidence is the compounding interest of the actions that you take. So one of my clients, a Japanese guy, Rentaro, who some of you will know, before working with me, Rentaro was in a fucked up position. The woman he was set to marry broke up with him on his birthday. He then moved to Portugal to pursue a new career in a city where he didn't know anybody. So you've got this Japanese guy, he's living in Portugal, comes across my content, signs up to work with me, becomes a client, but one of his fears was because he wanted to get a Western woman, right? He didn't want a Japanese woman. He wanted to get a Western woman and he wanted to get a relationship through daytime cold approach. He was tired of using dating apps, nightclubs. He didn't have a pre-existing social circle, but he didn't feel as though it was possible for him. He felt as though being Japanese was a disadvantage. And then within 2 weeks of working together, he'd already been on 3 dates with 3 different women. And he's now in a long-term relationship with a Portuguese woman who he cold approached. But why I explained to Rentaro and why this matters to you is Rentaro didn't get this relationship because of this one approach. The relationship Rentaro is now in is a direct product of all of the action that he took, right? And this is why cold approach, social confidence, it's about the compounding interest. You might go out today, you might do 10 approaches, you might get 0 phone numbers. Most guys would perceive that as a failure. For me, because I like to think in terms of decades as opposed to days, I would view that as an investment into your future identity. Of course, if all you're getting right now is rejections, flaky phone numbers, conversations that don't go anywhere, and you've done hundreds of approaches, then something's wrong, right? Let's just cut the bullshit. Something is clearly wrong. If you've been approaching, you've been putting in the reps, you're not getting the results like you think your efforts deserve, you need some form of feedback. You need some form of individually tailored point of view. You need an objective perspective. You need some level of accountability, structure. Otherwise, it's the definition of insanity. Confidence is the compounding interest of the actions that you take. It's like investing into the stock market or building a better body. You don't just get a bigger chest by doing 1 set of bench press, right? It's a compounding interest of the actions that you take. Number 18, environment is everything. What I'll say to all my guys is, great game cannot make up for a shit location. If you want to be in a relationship with a Latina woman, but you're living in fucking Grimsby in the UK, then you're going to be capped, right? It's similar to when I was growing up in my small town in Barrow-in-Furness. I knew I wasn't going to stay there for the rest of my life because in Barrow-in-Furness, in my hometown, it's this crabs in a bucket mentality. People want to see you do well. They don't want to see you do better than them because it holds a mirror up to who they could have been. And what I found is one of the biggest unlocks in my life is putting myself in environments where I'm surrounded by greatness. I remember the first time I went to Bali, and if you've been to Bali, you'll know the guys there are in immaculate physical condition. It made me want to push harder. The first time I went to Dubai and I was surrounded by wealth and luxury. I went to this $15,000 3-day in-person event. So one of my old business mentors, William Brown, he hosted this event in Dubai. It's called the Dubai Boardroom. And I was in a room with entrepreneurs who were making $1 million months, right? And it completely shattered my view of what I thought was possible, right? Being this only child from the Lake District, now being in a boardroom of successful entrepreneurs, it completely reshaped my reality of what I thought was possible. And this is what happens as well. When guys fly out to work with me in person, they'll meet me in a city where nobody knows them. And what this means is they can recreate their entire identity through anonymity. Because sometimes guys have got this fear of getting a bad reputation for themselves in their city. But when guys fly out to meet me in a city where no one knows them, it means they can stack so much momentum. It means they can burn that city into the ground without any social repercussions. And then they can go to a different city. Maybe they go back to their home city, or maybe they continue traveling. This happened with one of my clients, Ephraim. So in 2023, Ephraim flew from San Francisco to Warsaw, Poland, and he met, put my fucking teeth back in. He met up with me for one-on-one in-person coaching. But one of his biggest fears was because Ephraim is black. Ephraim thought the women in Warsaw were not going to like him because he was black. And I reframed it. I said, bro, the women in Warsaw are going to love you because you're black. They don't see guys like you every single day. You can leverage the rarity factor, right? The reason why gold is considered valuable is because it's scarce. That which is scarce increases in perceived value. And this was one of the reasons why Ephraim was able to go on multiple dates on the same day, multiple dates a week, and then go back home to San Francisco where he was able to replicate the same results. Number 19 is to ritualize confidence. Okay, so we know from earlier, we become what we practice. And what I used to do when I was first learning daytime approach in 2020 is I would make these little videos to myself before I went out to approach, because what I found to be true for myself is the more I talked, the more I wanted to talk. One of the biggest problems that I see with my private coaching clients is they're simply not getting their vocal cords firing on a consistent basis. So a really practical exercise. before you approach any woman, before you put pressure on yourself to have the first person you speak to that day be this absolute smoke show, get your vocal cords firing. There's so many things you can do. You can walk through your city centre, put your AirPods in, pretend you're on the phone, like do a fake phone call. This is another thing. I am a sucker for voice messages, right? So when I wake up in the morning, I'm not feeling in this social flow state. My brain is depleted of oxygen. I've been comatose for the past 8 hours. I like to send voice messages to my clients to get my vocal cords firing. You can walk outside into your city centre. You can make videos of yourself in public. Invite the social spotlight. It's what I say to all my guys. Don't avoid the social spotlight. Invite the social spotlight. So just get your vocal cords firing. Ritualize social confidence. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll see a woman, she'll walk past you, and because you've spoke to nobody that day, because you've not yet warmed up on yourself, because you're not socially lubricated, you'll let the opportunity pass you by. So every single day, it's a blank slate. I need to make the decision to become the most socially confident motherfucker on the planet, right? Yesterday doesn't mean anything, right? Yesterday, fine. I did things, I achieved things, I did a good job. But today's a new day. I need to prove to the universe again, I am the version of myself that I see in my mind. Walk outside, get your vocal cords firing, invite the social spotlight, make videos of yourself, do a fake phone call, send voice messages. And then when you approach a woman, it'll feel so much easier. And finally, daytime cold approach is the ultimate social amplifier. Yeah? I used to think I was confident before I got started with daytime cold approach, but then I realized I just had situational confidence. Take away my pack of cards, and I felt like that lost, scared little boy. If you are a high achieving guy, you're an entrepreneur, you understand the importance of leveling up in your life. Your level of income will never exceed your level of self-development. Cold approach is the most aggressive form of self-development. It separates you from every other guy on the planet, whilst the majority of guys are swiping on screens, are scratching their heads, still trying to work all this women stuff out after years of failed attempts and missed opportunity. When you unlock this decentralized skill set of the Awake 1%, which is daytime cold approach, the way you show up changes. You're not the same person anymore. You walk through the streets with these delusions of grandeur. You don't give a flying fuck what people think. You experience social success in advance. But I also understand how difficult learning daytime cold approach can be. So what I've done is I put together a free course. It's called Conversation Killer. It's a course that I put together in 2022. So please excuse the way I used to look back then. But this course gives you everything you need to get started with daytime cold approach. The only reason I give this course away, by the way, is not because I'm a nice guy, it's not because I'm a good Samaritan, it's because when you eventually become one of my private coaching clients, I already want you to have the foundations in place. Before guys reach out to work with me, they've already watched Conversation Killer, they've gone through the material, and then what usually happens after a couple of weeks of consuming my content, they'll drop me a DM on Instagram, or they'll schedule a call, be like, Christian, I've seen your stuff, I know you're legit, I've seen all of your testimonials on Christian Casanova testimonials page, I'm ready to get started. So simple call to action from this video is you want to master the art of daytime cold approach because you're tired of leaving money on the table, you're tired of feeling like a closet heterosexual, sleeping alone every single night whilst guys out there who are nowhere near your level are taking the women who could have been yours. First link below this video, download Conversation Killer.